You know what people rarely tell you? The most powerful moment in healing isn't when you block her. It's not when you ignore a text. It's not even when you stop bringing her up in conversation. The real turning point is when you stop looking back. Not from anger, not from pride, but from peace. It's when your mind no longer circles that one memory, when your mornings don't start with her, and your nights don't end with her in your thoughts. When she's no longer the quiet background music playing behind everything you do. And here's the craziest part. That's exactly when she feels it. Not because you made a scene or tried to prove a point, but because your energy left her world and returned to your own. And that's when the shift begins. Point 1. She notices when your silence becomes genuine instead of strategic. At first, she assumes you're like most men, pulling away just to grab her attention, going quiet in hopes she'll chase you. She thinks it's temporary. But as time passes and you don't return, it hits differently because your silence isn't a move anymore. It's your new reality. You're not playing games, you're simply done. And that grounded, calm silence doesn't shout, but it echoes. And she hears every bit of it. Point 2. She feels the loss of your emotional availability. She was used to the version of you who always cared, the one who answered every late-night message, the one who couldn't stop reacting, the one who was always reachable. But now that door is closed. Not slammed with anger, but gently shut with boundaries and intention. She tries to test it, sending small signals, leaving breadcrumbs, maybe even trying silence of her own to bait you back, but nothing comes. Because you're no longer desperate for scraps of attention. You stopped feeding that old bond, and now she's starving for the presence she once took for granted. Point 3. She starts comparing who you were to who you've become. She remembers the man who doubted himself, who reached out even when he was hurting, who gave love with no limits, maybe even too much. But that version no longer exists. Now she sees a man who is solid, quiet, unshakable, not trying to perform, just existing differently. You don't beg for attention. You don't argue your worth. You're not trying to prove yourself anymore. And the contrast between the man she knew and the man you've become forces her to ask a haunting question. Did I ever really know him? That's when she realizes you've evolved, and that evolution is magnetic. Point 4. She notices you protecting your peace, even if it costs connection. The old you would have cracked, answered one more message, reopened one more door, tried to just talk it out, but not anymore. Now, if it costs your peace, it costs too much. You're not bitter. You're not running. You've simply learned how to guard what's sacred, and she feels it because she used to hold the power to pull you back in. That access has expired, not because you hate her, but because you finally love yourself more. And that level of self-respect builds a distance she can't cross. Point 5. She realizes your life has started to bloom without her. Healing doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's just finding comfort in solitude, smiling again, enjoying your routine, laughing, not to hide the pain, but because the pain is truly gone. And she sees that change. You're not waiting anymore. You're creating, building, living a life that no longer revolves around her absence. And that hurts more than any angry word ever could, because deep down, she expected you to stall, to wait, to leave the door half open just in case, but you're not watching to see if she walks back through. You built a new door and you walked through it first. Point 6. She realizes you don't need her to understand anymore. Closure is a trap, brother. You think freedom will come if she finally gets it. But true freedom isn't being understood. It's not needing to be. That's where you're standing now. You don't need her to validate your pain. You don't need her to admit her role. You've stopped rehearsing that last conversation because your peace doesn't wait for her permission. And when she feels that shift, it hits differently. You're not angry. You're simply not playing emotional fetch anymore. That kind of detachment isn't indifference, it's power. Point 7. She feels the weight of your silence, but can't reach you anymore. Maybe she sends a song, a memory, a vague post that says nothing, yet means everything, but you don't respond. Not because you didn't notice, but because it no longer tugged. For the first time, she's faced with a version of herself that no longer has access to you. The silence she feels now isn't yours, it's hers, because you're not in limbo anymore. You're not pacing. You're not glued to your phone. You've moved on. And that tension she feels, that's the sound of a bond fading, one you used to keep alive, but no longer. Point 8. She realizes too late that you became the man she always wanted, without her. And that's the sharpest sting of all, because as she watches you grow, she sees flashes of the man she once wished you'd be, confident, composed, whole. But now you are that man, and she's no longer standing beside you. You didn't become him to win her back. You became him because pain forced you to grow. And here's the irony. Now that you're grounded, healed, and glowing, she finally sees what she lost. But the door doesn't open just because she knocks. The man you've become doesn't look back. He keeps walking forward. Brother, don't let anyone convince you that healing is about revenge or about making her regret. That's surface level thinking. Real power comes when you move so deeply into peace that her regret doesn't even matter anymore.